Jason was always on time. Every day at 4:30 p.m., he parked his old silver sedan in front of the daycare center. His 6-year-old son, Leo, would run out with his backpack swinging, his shoes untied, and a big smile on his face. It was their little routine. A wave, a hug, and a drive home with music playing softly in the background. But today was different. Jason leaned against the car, watching the door like usual. When Leo stepped out, something was off. His walk was slower, his smile softer. As he reached the car, he looked up at his father and said something Jason would never forget. "Dad, I saw Mom today." Jason froze. The keys slipped from his hand and hit the pavement with a sharp sound. He bent down slowly to pick them up, trying to process what Leo had just said. His throat felt dry. "What did you say?" he asked, standing up, trying to keep his voice calm. Leo repeated it, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "I saw Mom. She was outside the window. She waved at me." Jason's mind raced. His wife Emily had died 5 years ago in a car crash. The funeral was small, the casket closed. She was gone. He had buried her. He remembered the rain falling that day, the way the priest's words echoed in the cemetery. Leo had only been a baby then? "Are you sure?" Jason asked, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. "Maybe she just looked like Mom?" Leo shook his head. "No, it was her. She had the same smile. She waved like this." He raised his little hand and waved gently. She looked happy. Jason didn't know what to say. He helped Leo into the car, buckled him in, and got behind the wheel. His hands trembled as he turned the key. The engine started, but his thoughts were somewhere else. All through the ride, Leo chatted about what he ate, what he painted, and how his friend Tommy fell off the swing. But Jason could barely hear him. His mind was stuck on those words. "I saw Mom." At home, Jason made dinner as usual. Mac and cheese with peas. Leo ate happily, but Jason barely touched his food. That night, after putting Leo to bed, he sat in the living room with the lights off. The house was quiet, except for the ticking of the wall clock. Could Leo be imagining things? Kids had wild imaginations. Maybe he missed having a mother so much that he dreamed it. But Leo had never asked much about her. Jason had kept photos, packed away, hoping to protect Leo from the pain. There was no way he could remember her face so clearly. Still, the boy had sounded so sure. Jason went to the small storage room in the back. He hadn't opened the box in years. Inside were pictures of Emily, on their wedding day, holding baby Leo, sitting on the porch with a cup of tea. Her eyes always looked kind. Her smile was soft. He picked out a photo and stared at it for a long time. Then he walked back to Leo's room. The boy was half asleep, the blanket twisted around his legs. Jason knelt beside him and whispered, "Leo, can I show you something?" Leo's eyes opened slowly. Jason showed him the photo. "Is this who you saw?" Leo looked at the picture and nodded without hesitation. "Yes, that's her." Jason's chest tightened. He didn't know what to believe. The next morning, he walked Leo to daycare. He waited until the teachers welcomed the children inside. Then he approached one of them, a middle-aged woman named Miss Carla who had worked there for years. "Has anyone new been around here lately?" he asked. "A woman, maybe, someone standing near the windows?" Miss Carla looked puzzled. Not that I know of. No new staff. No visitors except the usual parents. Jason nodded, pretending to smile. Just curious. Leo mentioned something strange yesterday. She chuckled. Kids do that. My niece once swore she saw her cat talking on the phone. He laughed weakly and turned to leave. But his heart was heavy. Later that day, Jason parked across the street from the daycare instead of driving home. He sat silently, eyes scanning the sidewalk, the windows, every passing face. Nothing unusual happened until 3:45 p.m. A black car pulled up on the far side of the street. Inside sat a woman with dark glasses and a scarf around her head. She didn't. Get out. She didn't speak. She just stared at the daycare. Jason leaned forward in his seat. A few minutes later, Leo passed by the window inside. He looked out. His face lit up. He waved. The woman in the car lifted her hand and waved back, exactly how Leo had described. Jason's heart pounded. He stepped out of his car and crossed the street quickly. But just as he reached the corner, the black car drove away. He stood there, breathless, watching it disappear. Could it be her, or was someone playing a cruel game? He had no answers, only more questions. And tomorrow, he knew, he'd be waiting again. Jason couldn't sleep. His thoughts returned again and again to the woman in the black car. Her face was hidden behind sunglasses, her scarf pulled tight around her hair, but something about her felt familiar. The way she raised her hand, the calm stillness in her posture, he couldn't shake the feeling. He spent most of the night at his desk, looking through old photos and files. He pulled out every picture he had of Emily. He studied them closely, trying to find something that matched the woman from the car. But photographs couldn't speak. They didn't move, didn't wave. They couldn't confirm what his heart was starting to whisper. By morning, Jason's eyes were red, his hands shaking from too much coffee and too little rest. He helped Leo get dressed for school, trying not to show his worry. Leo hummed softly, while tying his shoes, unaware of the storm inside his father's mind. On the way to daycare, Jason asked gently, "Leo, the woman you saw yesterday, did she say anything to you?" Leo nodded. She smiled and put her finger to her lips like this. He made a soft shh motion. Jason gripped the steering wheel tighter. That small gesture, the quiet finger over her mouth, it was something Emily used to do whenever Leo got too loud in public. It wasn't just any smile. It wasn't just a wave. It was something personal, something real. After dropping Leo off, Jason parked nearby again. He waited for the black car, but it didn't show. Hours passed, and nothing happened. Still, he returned the next day and the next. Some days he stayed until evening. The car never came back. Each night he opened the same box of memories, read old messages, scanned photos, and even rewatched old home videos. Emily's voice echoed through their living room again, soft and warm. He had almost forgotten how she laughed, how she called Leo my little lion. He wondered now, had he really seen her buried? The funeral had been fast. The accident left her body badly burned, and the doctors had advised a closed casket. He had accepted that. At the time, he didn't question anything. He was too broken, too lost. But now doubt crept in. What if they were wrong? What if the hospital made a mistake? Or worse, what if she had never died? Jason knew he needed answers. He visited the hospital that handled Emily's accident. He spoke to an older nurse who had been on shift that night. She searched for the file and found it, though it was thin. She remembered the crash. 2 vehicles. Fire. One woman declared dead on arrival. Jason asked if the body was ever identified through fingerprints or DNA. The nurse shook her head. No, sir. The family asked for no autopsy, and the body was difficult to identify. Jason left with a strange weight in his chest. For 5 years, he had believed Emily was gone. Now, he wasn't so sure. Something inside him, something quiet but stubborn, refused to believe this was just a coincidence. That night, Jason sat with a glass of water and stared at the photo of his wife. Why would she leave? He whispered to himself. Why wouldn't she tell me? He remembered their last week together. Emily had been quiet. She often looked out the window for long moments. She smiled less, avoided phone calls, and never talked about her day. He had blamed it on stress. He had been busy with work, trying to earn more, trying to be a good husband and father. But now, those quiet days felt different. Were they signs? Had she been hiding something? The next morning, Jason returned to the daycare and asked Miss Carla again, "Are you sure no one new came to pick up a child last week?" Miss Carla paused, then said, "Actually, there was a woman I didn't recognize. She came on Thursday, stood near the fence. Didn't talk to anyone. I thought she might be a new aunt or something." Jason's heart skipped. What did she look like? Dark scarf, sunglasses, tall. I couldn't see her face. He nodded slowly. "Did you see which direction she went?" "She walked toward the back parking lot. That's all I saw." Jason thanked her and went around the building. He searched for security cameras and found one above the back exit. He wrote down the name of the security company and made a few calls. By the end of the day, he had arranged a meeting with the manager. They agreed to show him the footage from last Thursday. When the video played, Jason leaned forward. At 3:52 p.m., a woman appeared on the screen. She wore a black coat, a scarf, and dark glasses. She stood still, staring toward the building. Then, for a brief moment, she turned her head to the side, and Jason saw her profile. His breath caught, the curve of her nose, the shape of her jaw. It was Emily. He leaned back in the chair, stunned. It wasn't just a passing thought now. It wasn't just Leo's words. It was real. Emily was alive. And she was watching their son. Jason left the security office with his hands in his pockets and a storm inside his chest. He had seen her. There was no doubt. The woman in the video was Emily, his wife, the woman he believed was buried 5 years ago. Every step he took back to the car felt heavier than the last. Questions filled his head. Why was she hiding? Why hadn't she come back? Why now? That night, he sat in the living room staring at the dark screen of the television. The house was quiet. Leo had gone to bed after his usual bedtime story. Jason hadn't heard a word of it, his mind too full to focus. The photo of Emily sat on the coffee table. He picked it up, brushing his thumb across the frame. Her smile in the picture was soft and warm, just like Leo's. It made his chest ache. He needed answers, and there was only one place left to start: Emily's family. The next morning, Jason called Emily's sister, Rachel. They hadn't spoken in years. After the funeral, Rachel moved away. She had blamed Jason for Emily's death, saying he didn't protect her. Jason had never understood her anger. But now, he wondered if there was more to it. The phone rang several times before Rachel picked up. Her voice was cautious. "Hello?" "Rachel, it's Jason," he said quietly. There was a long pause. "Why, are you calling me?" "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest," he said. "It's about Emily." She didn't respond right away. When she spoke again, her voice was different, shaky. "Emily is gone, Jason." "I saw her," he said softly, "and Leo saw her too." The silence that followed was heavy. Jason waited. Finally, Rachel said, "Where?" "At Leo's daycare. She was watching him." Rachel sighed, and the sound told Jason everything. She knew something. "You knew she was alive," he said. "Didn't you?" Rachel's voice was quiet. "I can't talk on the phone." "Please," Jason begged. "I need to know the truth." After a long moment, Rachel agreed to meet him. "Tomorrow, at the park near my old house, 10 a.m. Jason hung up, feeling a strange mix of hope and fear. He didn't sleep much that night. The next day, he left Leo with a friend and drove to the park. The sky was gray, and the wind was cool. Rachel was already there, sitting on a bench near the trees. She looked older, tired, but her eyes still had the same sharpness. Jason sat beside her. Neither spoke for a while. "You weren't supposed to see her," Rachel finally said. "She was just checking on Leo." "So it is her," Jason whispered. Rachel nodded. "She's alive." Jason felt his heart twist. "Why? Why did she leave? Why did you let me believe she was dead?" Rachel looked away. "Because she needed to disappear." Jason turned to her. "From what?" Rachel hesitated. "From you." Jason's face paled. "What do you mean?" "She was scared, Jason," Rachel said, her voice low. "You didn't notice it, but things were getting worse. You were angry all the time, not violent, but cold, distant. She felt trapped." Jason shook his head. "I never hurt her." "No," Rachel agreed. "But she felt unsafe. And she didn't want Leo growing up in that kind of home." Jason sat in silence, trying to take it all in. "But the crash? The funeral?" Rachel sighed. "She planned it. The accident was real, but she escaped, with help. A women's group helped her vanish. I was part of it. We had to make it believable." Jason leaned forward, holding his head in his hands. "So all this time, she was alive, and I didn't know." "She didn't want to hurt you," Rachel said. "She just wanted peace. She's been watching Leo from a distance for years." Jason looked up. "I need to talk to her." Rachel's eyes were filled with concern. "She's not ready. She just wanted to see him. She misses him." Jason nodded slowly. "I've changed. I've raised Leo with love. I didn't know I was hurting her back then." Rachel studied him. Maybe one day she'll talk to you, but for now, let her stay hidden. Let her heal." Jason didn't answer. He just stared ahead at the empty swing swaying in the wind. When he got home, Leo was building a spaceship out of blocks. He looked up and smiled. "Did you see Mom again?" Jason knelt beside him. "No, buddy, but I know she loves you. Very much." Leo nodded and went back to building. Jason sat quietly beside him, still full of questions, but somehow closer to the truth than ever before. The days that followed felt different for Jason. He moved through them slowly, as if each moment carried a hidden message. Now that he knew Emily was alive, the world seemed heavier, more complicated, more confusing. Leo remained cheerful, unaware of the storm surrounding him. He played with his toys, told silly stories, and asked Jason to read his favorite book every night. Jason did it all with a quiet heart. Behind every smile, there was a question he couldn't shake. Where was Emily now, and what had she been through? Rachel hadn't shared where Emily lived. She had only said that Emily needed time, space, and safety. Jason respected that, but he also needed to understand more. He couldn't live with only pieces of the truth. That evening, after putting Leo to bed, Jason returned to his desk and opened his old computer. He had kept Emily's files, emails, and phone records locked away, untouched since her death. His hands hovered over the keyboard for a moment before he started digging. The emails were ordinary at first. Talks about groceries, Leo's doctor visits, and reminders for birthdays. But then Jason found a few messages from a contact named R. They were short and vague. "Tuesday, bring the envelope. He doesn't know yet. I'll decide soon. Almost ready." Jason stared at the screen. The dates on the emails were just days before the crash. R had to be Rachel. The messages didn't explain much, but they pointed to a plan, something Emily had been preparing without him knowing. He checked the call logs next. One number appeared many times during those last few weeks. It wasn't a number he recognized. He wrote it down and began searching online. After a while, he found a name connected to it: Hope Shelter for Women. Jason clicked through the website. It was a quiet organization that helped women escape dangerous situations and start new lives. Everything made more sense now. Emily hadn't just disappeared. She had planned a way out. The next day, Jason called the shelter. A woman answered with a calm, kind voice. "Hello, Hope Shelter. How can I help you?" Jason paused. He didn't know what to say. Finally, he spoke softly. "I'm looking for someone who stayed there a few years ago. Her name is Emily Walters." The woman replied gently, "I'm sorry, but we can't give out any information for safety reasons." Jason understood. "I don't mean any harm. She's my wife. I thought she was dead. I only found out recently that she's alive." There was silence for a few seconds. "Sir, if she stayed with us, it was because she needed protection. That's all I can say." Jason thanked her and hung up. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. The door to the truth was there, but it was locked. That evening, Jason watched Leo play in the backyard. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft orange and pink. Leo ran across the grass, chasing bubbles. Jason sat on the porch steps, holding a cup of tea. His heart was heavy. Emily had been part of their life again, but only from the shadows. She had seen Leo. She had been close enough to touch him, but she chose not to. That choice hurt, even, though Jason understood. Later that night, Jason received a text. It was from an unknown number. It simply said, "You're getting too close. Please stop." Jason read it again and again. His fingers trembled. Was it Emily or someone else protecting her? He replied, "I just want to talk. One conversation. That's all." No answer came. The next morning, Leo asked, "Dad, when will Mom come to visit again?" Jason smiled gently. "I don't know, buddy. Maybe someday." Leo nodded and went back to coloring. Jason dropped him at daycare, then returned to his car and waited. He stayed there for hours, hoping to see the black car again. But no one came. The week passed slowly. No texts, no signs. On Saturday morning, Jason and Leo walked to the local market. As they passed a row of shops, Leo suddenly stopped and pointed toward a woman across the street. "There she is," he whispered. "Mom!" Jason turned, heart pounding. A woman in a long coat and scarf stood near a bookstore. Her face was partly hidden, but her eyes were unmistakable. She met Jason's gaze for just a second. Her lips trembled, and her hand clutched her purse tightly. Jason stepped forward, but she shook her head, tears in her eyes. She turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Jason didn't follow. He stood still, his hand resting gently on Leo's shoulder. "She's okay," Jason said softly. "She saw you. That's what matters." Leo smiled. "She looked happy." Jason nodded. "She did." And for the first time in years, that was enough. The bookstore visit stayed in Jason's mind long after the woman vanished into the crowd. Her eyes had spoken more than any words. They were filled with fear, sadness, and something else. Maybe regret. It was the second time he had seen her, and this time there was no doubt. Emily was alive. She had seen Leo, and for a brief second she had let Jason see her too. That night, Jason sat at the edge of Leo's bed, watching his son sleep. Leo's chest rose and fell gently, his hand still resting on his favorite toy. Jason placed a soft kiss on his forehead and turned off the light. Downstairs, the living room was quiet. Jason poured himself a glass of water and sat by the window. His thoughts moved slowly. He wasn't angry anymore. He didn't feel confused like before. Now he just felt tired. Tired of waiting. Tired of watching from a distance. He opened his phone and stared at the last message from the unknown number. "You're getting too close. Please stop." It had been days, and still no reply. He typed again. "I'm not chasing you. I just want peace. Leo misses you." Then he turned off the phone and left it on the table. The next morning, Jason took Leo to the park. It was sunny and quiet, with a few other families around. Leo ran toward the swings while Jason sat on a bench beneath a tree. He watched his son play, laugh, and run like nothing in the world could ever hurt him. Then, from the corner of his eye, Jason noticed someone sitting on another bench, not far away. She wore the same scarf, the same long coat. This time, she didn't hide. Emily. Jason looked straight ahead, his heart pounding. He didn't move. He didn't want to scare her away. After a few minutes, he stood slowly and walked toward her. She kept her eyes on the ground. He sat down a few feet away. For a moment, Neither of them spoke. The wind blew softly through the trees. Children laughed in the distance. Jason kept his voice low. "Thank you for coming." Emily's hands were clenched together in her lap. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I didn't plan to. I just saw you." Jason nodded. "Leo still talks about you. He remembers that day at daycare." Emily smiled faintly, but her eyes stayed down. "He's grown so much." Jason looked at her carefully. She was thinner, paler, but still had the same soft features, the same quiet strength. "I've changed too," he said. "I know I made mistakes. I didn't see how you were feeling back then." Emily glanced at him, her eyes full of mixed emotions. "You weren't cruel, but I felt invisible. Every day I felt like I was fading." Jason lowered his head. "I'm sorry, I truly didn't know." "I didn't leave because I hated you," she said. "I left because I was afraid I'd disappear completely. I didn't want Leo to grow up in silence." Jason looked toward the playground. Leo was building a tower in the sand. "He's a happy boy, but he's missed something. He's missed you." Emily's voice shook. "I watched his birthday from the car last year. I cried the whole time." Jason turned to her. "You don't have to stay hidden anymore." She shook her head. "I'm not ready. I'm not the same person. I've built a life. Quiet, simple. But seeing him again, it broke something inside me." Jason nodded. "Then maybe we take it slow. You don't have to jump back in. Just be present. Let him know his mom cares." Emily finally looked him in the eyes. "Can you really forgive me?" He paused. "I already have." A tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly. "I want to be part of his life," she said softly. "I just don't know how." Jason smiled gently. "We'll figure it out." They sat there for a while, watching Leo play. The sun was warmer now, the park a little brighter. Emily didn't speak again, but her silence felt softer, less like a wall, more like a door opening. When it was time to go, Jason stood up and called for Leo. The boy came running with sand on his hands and joy on his face. Jason looked at Emily. "Would you like to say hello?" Emily's eyes widened. She hesitated. Leo looked at the woman beside his dad. He stared for a long moment, then tilted his head. "Mom?" Emily knelt down, tears in her eyes. "Hi, sweetheart." Leo smiled. "I knew it was you." Emily reached out, and he hugged her tightly. Jason stood nearby, watching the two of them. For the first time in 5 years, his family wasn't broken. It was beginning to mend. One quiet moment at a time. Emily didn't stay long that day. After hugging, "Leo," she gently pulled back and whispered that she had to go. Jason didn't stop her. He saw how hard it was for her to be there. She walked away quickly, wiping tears from her cheeks as she disappeared down the sidewalk. Leo looked up at his father with bright eyes. "Dad? Is she coming back?" Jason nodded slowly. "I think so. She wants to." That answer was enough for Leo. He skipped ahead toward the car, humming a tune and kicking small pebbles on the way. Jason followed behind, unsure of what tomorrow would bring, but feeling more hope than he had in years. Over the next few days, Emily didn't show up again. Jason checked his phone constantly, hoping for a message, but there was nothing. He didn't push. He remembered her words. "I'm not ready." Then, one quiet morning, a message arrived. "Can I see Leo again?" "Just for a short visit. I'll come to the park at 4. Jason read the message twice, then smiled. He picked up Leo from daycare that afternoon and drove straight to the park. Emily was already there when they arrived. She wore a soft blue sweater this time, no scarf, and her hair was tied back. She looked less like a stranger and more like the Emily he used to know. Leo ran to her the moment he saw her. "Mom." She knelt down and hugged him tight. Jason watched from a distance, giving them space. They sat on the grass together, talking and laughing. Emily listened closely as Leo told her about school, his favorite cartoons, and how he once beat Jason at checkers. When the sun began to set, Emily stood and walked over to Jason. "Thank you," she said quietly. He nodded. "You're welcome. Any time." She looked down, her hands twisting in front of her. "I don't want to confuse him. I still need space, but I also want to be near him." Jason understood. "We'll take it one step at a time." From then on, Emily came to the park once or twice a week. Sometimes she brought snacks, sometimes books. She never stayed long, and she always kept her visits simple. Leo didn't ask many questions. He accepted her presence with the pure trust of a child. Jason and Emily talked more during those short visits. They didn't discuss the past too deeply. Not yet. But small pieces slipped through. The stress Emily had carried, the guilt Jason had felt, the quiet ache they both lived with. One afternoon, as Leo played near the sandbox, Emily looked at Jason and said, "He's growing up so well." "He's strong," Jason replied. "Like his mom." Emily smiled, but didn't answer. Later that evening, Jason received another message from her. "Would you mind if I joined one of his school events? Something simple. I just want to be part of it." Jason's heart warmed. He texted back right away. Yes. Leo would love that. The next week, their town held a family reading day at the school. Parents were invited to read books in the classroom. Jason walked in with Leo and saw Emily already seated near the bookshelf, holding a book of fairy tales. The teacher introduced her to the children as Leo's mom. A few kids smiled and waved. Leo looked proud. As Emily read to the class, Jason stood at the back of the room and watched. Her voice was calm and clear, her eyes full of joy as she turned each page. For a moment, everything felt normal, not broken, not hidden. Just whole. After the event, they walked outside together. Emily looked nervous. "Was that okay?" Jason nodded. "You were perfect." She looked down, brushing her fingers through her hair. "I didn't think I'd ever feel this again, like I belonged somewhere." "You've always belonged," Jason said softly. "You just needed time to come back." They stood there for a long moment. The breeze moved gently around them. Leo tugged on Emily's hand. "Next time, can you read?" "2 books?" Emily smiled and bent down. "Of course, sweetheart. As many as you want." Jason looked at them. His son, his wife, once lost, but now returning in quiet moments. He didn't know what the future would look like, but he knew something had changed. The wall between them was lower now. There was trust beginning to grow again. Emily wasn't ready to move back or explain everything yet, but she was taking steps. And for Jason, those steps meant everything. Sometimes, healing didn't come all at once. It came in soft visits, shared smiles, and bedtime stories read by a mother who never truly left. And as the sky turned orange, behind the school, Jason finally felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace. The seasons slowly shifted. The warm days of early autumn brought golden leaves to the sidewalks and a soft chill to the air. Jason noticed how time felt slower now, more meaningful. Every moment with Leo felt fuller, and every visit from Emily held something quiet but powerful. Like a breath the heart had been holding for too long. Emily had not yet returned to her old life, and maybe she never would. But she was no longer a shadow. She was present in small ways. Her name wasn't whispered anymore. It was spoken clearly at school events, mentioned during story time, and sometimes written in Leo's drawings with big hearts around it. One Saturday morning, Jason made pancakes in the kitchen while Leo sat at the table coloring. The house smelled of butter and syrup. It was peaceful. "Dad?" Leo asked, looking up from his picture. "Yes, buddy? Can Mom come over today? Not just the park. Like, come here, just for lunch?" Jason paused, the spatula in his hand. He looked at Leo's hopeful face and nodded. "Let me ask her." He texted Emily. His fingers hesitated over the screen for a moment. "Leo wants to know if you'd like to come over for lunch. Just something simple." The reply came a few minutes later. "I'd love to." "Thank you," Jason told Leo, and the boy grinned wide. "Yay! I'll show her my new drawing." A little before noon, Emily knocked on the door. Jason opened it slowly, unsure how she would feel stepping into the place she once called home. She looked around as she stepped inside. Her eyes moved. Across the living room, the photos on the wall, the toys scattered across the floor. Nothing had changed much, yet everything felt different. Jason offered her a seat, and Leo ran to her with his drawing. "Look, it's us. Me, you, and Dad. See? We're holding hands." Emily smiled, eyes softening. "It's beautiful, Leo." Jason brought over plates with warm pancakes and fruit. They ate together in the dining room, the same table where so many family meals had once happened. This time, there was no tension, just warmth. After lunch, they sat in the living room. Leo played with blocks on the floor while Jason and Emily watched quietly. "I almost didn't come," Emily said after a while. "I was afraid it would feel wrong." "Does it?" Jason asked. She looked around. "No, it feels peaceful." Jason nodded. "You're welcome here, always. No pressure, no expectations." Emily looked at him, truly looked, and something passed between them. Mutual respect, quiet understanding. Later, Emily helped Leo clean up his toys before standing to leave. "Do you want to walk me to the bus stop?" she asked. Leo jumped up. "Yes!" They all walked together. The wind was cool, and leaves crunched under their feet. At the corner, Emily knelt and hugged Leo. "I'll see you soon, okay?" Leo hugged her tight. "Promise?" "Promise." Jason watched her leave, then held Leo's hand as they walked back. Something inside him had settled. Not everything had been said. Not all wounds were healed. But there was progress. Real, steady progress. Weeks passed, and Emily's visits became more regular. Sometimes she came for lunch. Other times she and Jason took Leo to the library or the park together. They moved slowly, with care. They still lived apart. They still had things to work through. But they were becoming a family again, one moment at a time. One evening, Jason sat on the porch steps while Leo played in the yard. Emily joined him, holding 2 cups of tea. "Do you ever think about before?" she asked quietly. "Every day," Jason said. "And I think about after, too." She took a sip of tea. It wasn't just fear. It was sadness, too. "I felt like I had disappeared." Jason listened. "But now," she continued, "I feel like I'm returning." He looked at her, grateful. "You are." They sat in silence for a while, watching. Leo chased a leaf dancing in the wind. Emily turned to Jason again. "I don't know what the future holds, but I want Leo to grow up with both of us, even if we're not under the same roof." Jason nodded. "Then that's what we'll give him." It wasn't about forcing the past to fit into the present. It was about building something new, something honest and gentle. That night, as Jason tucked Leo into bed, the boy asked, "Is Mom coming tomorrow?" "Maybe," Jason replied. "Would you like that?" Leo nodded sleepily. "I like when we're all together." Jason turned off the light and whispered, "Me too, buddy. Me too." In the quiet of the evening, with soft footsteps and open hearts, a new kind of family was taking shape. Not perfect, not rushed, but real. And that was enough.